Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, and welcome to the program. Good to have you joining us. And by us, I mean my sister Susan. Susan?
Yes. Ooh.
Oh, good God! You sound like what's his name? Simpson's aunt.
Yeah. Sorry. I apparently had not spoken a word this morning.
Hello.
Okay, I'm better.
I hear someone chuckling, and that would be our nephew, Louis.
Yep.
Hey,
hi, everyone. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Louis.
Okay, so listen, I have to tell you, Susan, listen to this.
What?
I asked Louis' wife, what exactly is Louis' title? And, you know, she's sharp as a tack. And she had to say, wait a minute, let me go get an email so I get it right. I'm thinking, his wife doesn't know his job title?
Well, I didn't know how to spell my husband's last name.
Well, wait. Let me read it to you. Let me read. This is by way of introduction to what he
Yeah. I got it.
How the hell they got this on a... Okay, here it is. Lewis Miller, Cartography, Reference and Teaching Librarian at the Osher Map Library and Smith Center for Cartographic Education at the University of Southern Maine.
I think
did that fast 10 times.
Only Louis has to know that.
Right. What the hell? And, you know, I often say, when you ask somebody, what do you do? And they tell you, and you still don't understand a word that, you know, you say, Louis, what the hell is this Cartography, Reference and Teaching Librarian at a map library? Osher? Is that like the Osher advanced learning stuff that goes on here at Pitt and CMU?
Yes, it's kind of connected. They're two brothers. And actually, funnily enough, my wife didn't even get my title right, even with checking the email. It's Cartographic Reference and Teaching Librarian, not Cartography.
Okay.
On you.
Sorry. Gee.
So
Cartographic Reference.
And it's funny. It actually... maps. I teach with the maps. I teach undergrad and grad students with our map collection. We have, over 500,000 maps and various items in the collection, dating back to the 15th century. So we do a lot of teaching, and I also deal with a lot of researchers and the public. So that's why it's both reference and teaching. So even though it is like, I think the longest job title of all time, or at least up there, it actually does sort of describe what I do on my day-to-day work. But
there you go.
Yes, and the Osher family is...
Yeah, but here's what I want to say. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting already.
No.
This map expert here...
Just don't tell her to go ahead.
He got lost trying to get to Pittsburgh yesterday.
Hey, we're not a map library to show you how to get from point A to point B.
It doesn't mean he's not a map idiot like us.
No. It's a cultural... I was studying Waze and trying to figure out why Google Maps and Waze are both, inept in their various different formats, So, yes, I drove in a completely different part of Pittsburgh. In my defense, we always come from the west. So this is the first time coming to Pitt from the east. And so, hey, that's at least my defense. That's my defense.
Okay, that's a good one. Hey, guys, there's a bunch of breaking news right before...
I was going to say, how can we be... there's more breaking news.
I know. Okay, well, let's see what we got. We do have, unbelievably...
a trial date.
Trial date for one Donald Trump. The judge, Eileen Cannon, who...
everybody's been wringing their hands about, yes.
Louis, she's a University of Michigan law school graduate.
Oh, God, I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah, no, she is.
Oh.
She is.
I wonder if your dad had her in a class. Okay, so this wonderful judge, Eileen Cannon, has set an aggressive schedule, it says, for moving this case forward, and it could begin as soon as August 14th. Wow.
And what it says to me is she's getting some advice about how you handle a national security case, which this is. It's not a documents case. It's a national security case. And the way you handle national security cases is with, great seriousness and speed, because you've got to get it under control and stop it. And it's got very special ways of dealing with things. And the second that she got a magistrate involved, which was totally appropriate and the way it should work, to respond to Justice's request that Trump not be allowed alone with the documents, or to speak of the documents, or to describe the documents, or to read the documents, or do anything with the documents. She appointed a magistrate, which was the proper thing to rule on that, and the magistrate ruled properly and granted the Justice Department's request. That was test number one. Test number two, set a trial date. Is she going to start with we'll get to it next March? No. She did it appropriately. We're going to get to it really early, August 14th. They're going to start dicking us around. That gives us time for them to dick. That's it. So she's had two times at base, and both times she's gotten on. She's done it right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think she's also engaged in a little repair. Of course.
She trashed her own reputation. Now she's got to earn our respect back. I'm finding this all sort of interesting, frankly.
Well, yeah. Other breaking news on the justice front.
How to handle it when one has done something inappropriate and gets caught red-handed. Go ahead.
The Justice Department has reached an agreement. Don't tell me to go ahead.
See what I mean, Louis?
What have you guys?
It's just like family dinner.
No.
It's just like a family dinner. Yeah, right. Here. So, in other Justice Department news, the Justice Department has reached an agreement with Hunter Biden, and he's going to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges and avoid prosecution on a separate gun charge.
Which, if he completes his diversion program, will be expunged. Now, let me explain the interesting things that these have in common. They're but for being cooperative in doing and telling the truth and doing what the government asks. Because Donald Trump actually, Biden got punished. Will get punished. If Trump had simply given them the documents back in the beginning and said, oops, none of this. Yeah. If he had done it the whole year, the Department of Justice was begging with him to not make them indict him. This would have all gone away. But Bill Barr is absolutely right. You know, he brought it on himself. He is like a petulant child, and he just wanted to keep his things because he wanted to keep his things.
And he's making it worse. He was on Fox News last night making things, essentially incriminating himself.
I know. It's like when you tell him he can't say something, he's like the person that walks out in front of you and goes, I'm not supposed to tell you, but your zipper's down. You can't help it.
Or like the dog that gives away that it's, gotten into the trash. That's like,
that wasn't me.
So Trump apparently in this interview also said about the blood-stained leaders in Saudi Arabia. Here's Donald Trump. They are friends of mine. They are great people. The Crown Prince and the King, I got along with them incredibly. They would do anything. They're great, great people.
Sure, they gave his son-in-law $2 billion. Very generous.
And it just keeps coming. It just keeps coming. But it brings up, Bill Kristol said, so can you see where Trump could end up in Saudi Arabia after he loses the Republican primary or the general election?
He'll look great in white robes and a headpiece.
Flees the U.S. before they can sentence him for his crimes. Yeah. So the Saudis will take him in. Well, actually, you know, the New York Times today has this it makes you want to puke story about Trump and the deal that's going down now in Oman. He's making money doing nothing but lending his name to a huge development. They're building an entire city out of nothing in the desert with essentially slave labor, right? Because that's what they do. They truck in these poor souls from the migrant, from other countries and stick them in, you know, unair conditioned trailers and then, you know, work them to death in the 103 degree
That's
heat.
why Americans don't have to feel bad about their slavery and their history, because look, other people do it.
Yeah. Well, actually, these guys get paid. No, they get paid. What was it? $340 a month.
Yes. There you go.
There you go. So that's not slavery. Anyway, so they're doing this, and the deal, they did a two-page thing on what this deal is, and it is disgusting. And it, well, I'll quote the head of ethics at the Citizens for Responsibility in Ethics, which is a group that looks into such things. This is as blatant as it comes. How and when is he going to sell out American interests? That's the question this creates. It's the kind of corruption that our founding fathers most worried about. He's doing business with with the Saudis, with Oman. There's huge amounts of money being exchanged. And who knows? Who knows if, what he offers them, what they're offering him, because as Trump told the Fox audience, these are great, great people. And they're my great, great friends.
Right. And by the way, this is how Trump's made his living forever. Yeah,
ever.
He just puts his name on things until they go broke.
Yeah.
This is not new. This is just him doing business as usual.
Yep.
Well,
what's amazing is go ahead, Louis. Sorry, don't yell at me.
Sorry. No, just this is also, I think, Putin's calculus entirely with the war in Ukraine is like, just if I can just wait out the West and I can just let the GOP get back into power, then I can win. Like it's because Trump's interests are never been about national security. It's all been about personal gain. And yes, it is the thing of the founding. Yeah.
Well, that leads me to my other favorite mantra. Don't tinker with. I don't want to hear about who would be a better VP or how old our president is. I just want to know which ticket I'm supposed to vote for, and I'm going to vote for them. And I want everybody else to do the same thing. No third parties. No, just keep our democracy alive. There's only one way to do that, and that's to vote Democrat. I don't care who it is. I don't want to hear that you'd rather have Val Demings than Kamala Harris. I don't want any of that bullshit. I just want us to get out there and vote, bring our friends, and vote.
Vote.
Purity tests are passed. Like, anyone who doesn't get this next election is just a referendum on democracy versus fascism. If you can't get it through your head that, like, voting third party, not voting, complaining or trying to undermine the Dem campaign, I kind of censor myself a little bit because it makes me so mad. You're an idiot if you think that's.
We don't censor ourselves, Louis.
You don't have to.
Well, then you're a bunch of fucking idiots.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
There's the family mouse. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. No, I know people I worry about with that. That are sort of voted for Biden the first time and now are sort of waffling, and all the Dems are like, get it through your thick skull that 2024 is fascism versus democracy. That's all it is, and shut up the rest.
Yeah, I just started to yell at people. I mean, when someone brought up this Val Demings thing, I said, "Oh, great." you're going to substitute one woman of color for another woman of color and think that that's going to make a whole bunch of people happy. You're going to do nothing. You aren't going to touch anything. You're going to get behind our candidates and you're going to push them. You're going to act like a Republican. That's how they win. You know, this is just, the fact that I have to have this conversation with so many different, you know, people on our side just makes me want to retch.
I think a lot of Americans are still just have their head in the sand. They don't want to admit that this is actually really the tipping point.
Well, a lot of them don't have their head in the sand. They just don't get it that it's the tinkering that is our undoing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's another thing: a whole bunch of people don't care. There's a whole bunch.
Fascism, whatever. If you are white and Christian, whatever, your life ain't going to get, you know, theoretically. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Hey guys, I'm changing the subject. I was blown away by this picture of a sword that they found. Did you see this picture?
Yeah.
Now what the hell? And Susan, they dug up archaeologists in Germany.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Bavaria. They were digging up an area, and there were a bunch of bones and stuff, a burial site. And there is the most beautiful sword carved, and it's gleaming. It looks like it was polished. And they say it is over 3,000 years old. How? I got earrings.
It's incredible.
That are made out of metal that tarnish, you know. How is a 3,000-year-old sword?
Maybe it's Camelot.
No, it's made from bronze, they say. It is a bronze, but it sparkles. It has been, it is gorgeous. What do you call it? The thing that you hold on to, is that the hilt?
The hilt.
No.
The hilt, yeah.
The hilt is this carved. I'm looking at it right now. Intricately carved. I mean, beautifully carved. 3,000 years ago. This is 1,000 years before Christ, which is where our heads are, right? 1,000 years, and look at this thing.
Yeah, no, it's but you know, the sad indictment of I'm just going to be a Debbie Downer today, clearly. My brain immediately went to that the internet is just going to have a bunch of idiots talking about how this is ancient evidence of ancient aliens, or, you know, this is a plant. It's too shiny. It's too shiny. How could a sword from 3,000 years ago be that shiny? It's obviously a fake.
No, it's alien or it's magical. That's, of course, the first place. That's what that story is.
Listen, I was once having my teeth. I had a dentist who had a very sharp pointed object in my open mouth. And
did he say
talkative.
Oops?
No, it was a very talkative guy. And he was explaining to me how he felt that Adam and Eve were astronauts from another galaxy. And I'm thinking, this man has a sharp object in my mouth. I'm not kidding. It was...
you know what?
It shouldn't surprise you. What? It shouldn't surprise you that he also was he was into every conspiracy theory you can imagine. I mean, if there was a nurse or a dental assistant in the office when he was in there with me, I'd often meet her eyes, and her eyes would like be rolling around in her head. My eyes he was a hell of a dentist. Really good at what he did, but he was out of his mind.
Great.
You don't need your surgeon to, I don't want my surgeon knowing. I don't care if my surgeon knows how to tie their shoe. As long as they know how to do.
Yeah, as long as they know their plumbing, what they do. That's all you care about. That's right.
And he was really good. I think he's retired now. He was really good. But
my favorite thing. What my favorite thing though is having a workman at our, a guy coming to fix the pipes, and talking to us and talking about just, if only Ben Carson had been elected president, because he's a doctor, and he would have been able to steer the country through the pandemic because he's a doctor.
Is that what the guy said? That was really?
Yeah, that's what. Yes.
So what does being a doctor have to? Oh, he would have steered.
He would have understood the science.
It's the same sort of backward thing.
Wait, did he die of COVID?
No.
Are you starting a rumor? Are you starting?
No, I don't even think he's dead, Ninu.
Who died?
Sorry, Lynn. I'm sorry. I called you Ninu. I never do that. Louie, you're screwing me up.
Sorry, Susan. I know it's definitely my fault.
Okay, I think we're ready for the virgin birth.
Oh yeah, that poor. What was it? A crocodile?
A crocodile. Yeah. Who had not been anywhere near a male crocodile for 16 years. Laid a whole bunch of eggs, and damn if, it turned out that the one that hatched had a perfect little baby crocodile, but it was stillborn. And here's the thing. I had recently heard a podcast. Actually, one of the people in the audience, Milton, had sent me this amazing story about this kind of thing in nature, virgin birth. It is not. I was going to say it's not unusual. It happens.
It does happen.
It is much more widespread.
Mary could have been telling the truth.
That's what I'm thinking. So Mary could have been telling the truth, but that would then make Jesus a parthenogen, because that's what any being that only has the genetic input of the mother of the mother is called. And this virgin birth stuff is called parthenogenesis. And it happens. This is the first time they knew it happened with crocodiles. But they've seen that it happens in the bird world.
Yeah, it does. That's where it's most common,
snakes,
I think.
King cobras, sawfish, the California condors. And that was the subject of the piece there were no males around, but the females were making little condors left, right, and center. And they think that this in the science section of the Times today, they say we really don't know why this happens. It's generally believed that it's when males are in short supply that then this kicks in so that the women can do it by themselves.
Yeah. Hey, Lynn, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Louie, we'll make special, exceptions for the ones we like.
Thank you.
Well, I've often said this, and men, I'm sure this.
We don't really need that many of you, and you really do cause so much damn problems.
No, I know. It's true, and
it is.
Hey, isn't the Y chromosome? It is slowly degrading, right? I remember seeing something about eventually men will cease to exist. So, yes, women better get on this. You better, otherwise, the future of the species is at stake.
Cool.
God. Well, I think this could be at the.
You really are a Debbie Downer today, Louie.
This is the basis for, I think, a lot of the misogyny that women.
We will replace you.
Well, yeah, right. They have this magical ability, which I'm sure has terrified men forever.
Well, that and the teeth that we have in our vaginas, I hear that's one of the big things.
God, Susan, what is with you today?
Well, that's a psychoanalytic concept. I'm sorry. vagina dentata. Have you never heard of such a thing?
There's a horror movie about it. Yeah. There's
male fantasy. Yet another. You see, this proves my point about what movies are. They're all male fantasies.
Well, and I have the best example though of like when men stop caring about this sort of thing. So like, okay, there was an outfit that debuted in 1851 called the Bloomer. It was named after Amelia Bloomer, the first suffragette to kind of wear it. Yeah. And so society is like freaking out about just the fact that women are sort of wearing a shorter dress with long pants underneath. The one group of men that isn't freaking out about that is the owners of the textile mills up in Lowell, who realize that the women not wearing the tight bodices, and they make them more money. Oh, so they don't care. Then they're encouraging the women to wear the bloomers. So it's just classic male behavior.
I don't know.
God almighty. I thought those bloomers were pretty silly looking myself, but definitely less constraining than the other garb that women were being put into.
Forced to wear.
Hey, I want to, did any of you, did you guys miss the scandalous story out of Penn State?
Probably.
You mentioned this to me and then you didn't tell me. Yeah, you didn't tell me. I know.
This is another sexual scandal at Penn State. I don't know, what is it up there in Happy Valley? I think it's like so sort of secluded there that people get a little crazy.
Okay, so we've just stopped talking in like the last couple of years about their last one, right? So what's this one?
Right. I'll just give you the first sentence of the story. A 64-year-old award-winning professor at Penn State was arrested this week after a newly installed trail camera allegedly captured him walking around a state park naked, masturbating, and performing sexual acts on his dog.
Oh, I was not upset until that last part.
That's right. That is the most upsetting part.
That poor dog.
That's just next level.
He was charged with sexual intercourse with an animal, cruelty to animals, indecent exposure, open lewdness, and disorderly conduct. I mean, obviously some contact. But here is the thing. This guy did this more than once. He would walk around in a park naked with a ski mask on and a backpack. And
now how come he doesn't get shot?
Yeah. What level of depravity and craziness do you have to be?
Well, it's clearly a compulsion. I mean, let's just start with that. It's become a compulsion, and that's why he's out there all the time. But what's amazing is that nobody's complained, and that it took a camera.
Yeah.
Well, I guess rangers spotted him on one of the trail cameras, tracked him back to his car, and then got his license plate, and then they showed up at his house. That's how he was. And when they informed him what they were there for, he said, "I'm done. I'm dead. You don't understand. I do it to blow off steam.
Yeah.
Please shoot." He says, "Please shoot me. I need to die." But so what's the pathology here of he wanted to? You don't go out and do that. You don't want to be caught.
Right. Right.
So
I mean,
this is a new kind of suicide by cop thing, because he's finished now. He's done.
Well, it's some sort of compulsive disorder that is so powerful that he can't control it, and that even though he knows that it's going to end up literally or at least figuratively ending his life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the definition of compulsion. You don't have a choice. He's obsessed. He's an obsessive compulsive with a really disgusting obsession.
Professor of Chemical Engineering. I would imagine the university has relieved him of his duties.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And yeah, and the dog, I'm sure, has been is at least in a better place.
Did he have a family?
Incredible.
Like, I mean, like,
no.
You know, did he have a? Okay.
I have nothing. I don't know. I think he lived alone, but with his dog, a collie.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Lassie? I mean, you can't. That's even
Lassie.
Worse.
He was fucking
shacking up with Lassie. Yeah.
I'll never be able to watch that movie again.
We can't even make this up. And it's true. I think people react with more revulsion than if he'd been a pedophile. There's something about doing it with a dog that's even worse than doing it to a kid, although it's the same kind of thing.
I think we're best off if we don't get into which is worse.
No, we're not debating. I'm not going to.
That's my opinion.
Milton,
I'm not going to give the
Ben Carson.
But
you know, Ben.
Sorry, I'm just saying.
Ben Carson is dead.
Oh, he is dead. Okay.
No, he's not. It's another guy who ran for president, Herman Cain. Remember
That's right, Herman Cain, the pizza guy.
Yes.
Was he right. Pizza? He was some kind of food. He died of COVID. Right, but
Okay, I mean, you know, that's you weren't. It wasn't crazy then. Also, on the subject of the Penn State professor, I'm not going to give the details, but if any of you have not heard of the sculptor Eric Gill, Gill, Wikipedia, that big sick individual, brilliant artist from the early 20th century. But what his diaries came out to reveal about him is like that Penn State professor is small fries compared to.
Oh dear!
So I'll say no more.
What's his name?
But yes, Eric Gill.
Do you know how many people are now doing that?
They have rushed to their devices.
Okay, well, I'll do it later.
I think I'm not going to do it because I'm still sickened by where we started.
Yeah, don't. I honestly, I mean, a disclaimer. Like, I mean, honestly, Susan. Yeah, don't.
Yeah, I'm not going to look. It's okay.
It's upsetting. Okay, so don't look. Ray has checked in by saying, in regard to the virgin birth stuff, mammals are incapable of parthenogenesis. Is that
what do you think?
Well, that's okay.
Well, we know birds, we know reptiles, we know,
I don't know that we know that's true. I mean, that's one of those blanket statements that just because we haven't found one, you cannot say that positively. We might, the species might not have been stressed to the point that such a thing occurs. I think that kind of blanket statement is just, right up there. No, sorry. People thought the Earth was flat too. That wasn't. I mean, they had very good evidence.
So you're thinking that there possibly has been
I'm saying that the conditions under which this has happened in the past have not occurred as far as we know with our species for long enough that the genetic material which has only one thing in mind, which is to survive, figures out how to survive.
Yeah, well, stop and think of all the times that all the men were away at war killing each other.
Not long enough. Not long enough. There were still children coming up. It's not long enough. There has to be something that really. No, I'm just trying. It's the only thing that makes sense if you're trying to figure out how and why this happens. And therefore, what I'm saying, we're back to my, we're back to my original character, which is you're absolutely right. I'm making this up, but you would call it bullshit, and I call it critical thinking. And I'm telling you that it hasn't occurred in the human species for long enough time to trigger such a response.
Okay, but I can make any statement that we know is like, and I think of it, that you can't prove, huh?
Yeah,
that you can't prove
real.
One way or the other.
Ghosts aren't real, right? Right.
Yeah. That's.
Did I ever tell you I had two things with ghosts? I
had one,
but I've had two, and where I cannot explain what happened, and I by my nature, think hooey about ghosts, and then two things happened to me, both of them on the job in television.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just had Nana come back and teach me how to crochet a belt loop because I couldn't figure it out standing right in front of me.
Well, that's a little creepy.
Yeah, I was in college sitting on the edge of my bed thinking, I want to wear this because I have this job and I wanted to wear this purple pantsuit. I can tell you the whole thing about it. It had a wide belt that had crocheted belt loops. And it was about a year after, no, not even a year, about 6 months after Nana died. And this is our maternal grandmother. And she was a magnificent seamstress. And I was sitting there holding the needle and thread in my hand, trying to remember how to do this. And all of a sudden, Nana's standing in front of me going, this is ridiculous. This is the last time I'm going to show you. And she, quickly slip knots the belt loop and before I can say thank you, she's gone. I called Bill immediately, contemporaneously. I called Bill. I called Louie's father. That's what happened. I can't. Maybe it was an extremely vivid memory. But I'm telling you,
what substances have you been ingesting prior?
None. I was actually 18 on my way to a job. I was a pretty, wholesome kid.
Oh man.
No, I have contemporaneous. I called their brother immediately.
You think he remembers this?
I don't think he probably does, but do you remember how he knew that Nana was dead?
Oh, please stop.
I called to tell him he was dead. She was dead, and his roommate said he's on his way to Green Bay. His grandmother died, and I said, well, he couldn't possibly know that. And
this is getting weird.
I'm just telling you.
Well, it's
all stories about the same woman. She's a very powerful woman, and she hung around for a while.
And if we're hey, you know what? Honestly, though, this kind of goes back to the mammals can't give virgin birth thing. I think everyone is so convinced of there needs to be a rational explanation for stuff, and then also then not then appropriately placing yourself as a product of a certain time and culture. I've had so many people who are otherwise smart tell me the Salem witch trials happened because people took fungus. There was ergot fungus in the wheat and they hallucinated it all. It's bullshit. Do you not realize that people in a different time period or culture could believe in witches and that means that witches are real?
Right.
The economic study in Salem did show that a lot of the people were targeted because of their economic background. But that to try to just rationalize.
But by the way, they were doing this in England, Louis. Did they have the same stuff that they were hallucinating with?
I mean, it's why it's madness, right? But it's a 20th century, 21st century. I think it's the social sciences that brought this. Well, so really 19th century desire to just sort of rationalize everything.
Explain it. Right. Explain it.
Yes.
I remember reading about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the same thing with a mammal birth. I mean, odds are hey, the evidence we have now, but to make a blanket statement of that, so for me, it's, yes, whenever I hear very smart people too, say that stuff about Salem, it's just get your head out of your ass. Use your critical thinking skills.
Or men are evil. I mean, humans are evil. And they have been doing evil things to each other from the beginning.
and to other species, clearly, like our Penn State friend.
And poor Lassie.
I'm not gonna look at a dog the same way again today. You've ruined dogs.
I know that poor. Oh God. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
We should probably just say, okay, so now you know what hanging out with more than two in the family is like.
So I got to tell you,
go ahead. If you got to do it.
That's the second time you told me to go ahead.
That's right. Okay, too soon.
Barbara has written in, special thanks to Louie. I put a picture to his, she sent a picture of you. She's got a picture of you. You're telling people to Google this, this creep, and she Googled you.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you. I kind of started to think what photo it was. It's a nice photo. Okay,
well,
good.
Yeah, you're staring straight ahead and nice smile on your face, and you got on you're dressed like your dad. You have on a t-shirt and a sort of, flannel thing over it, jacket.
Oh, yes. It's like a selfie. Okay, yes.
That's a selfie? Okay.
I think
that's
so.
A selfie.
Yep.
Well, he lives in Portland, Maine. That's sort of the uniform, I think.
You have to wear flannel. I mean, Maine dress code is different from everywhere else. So you got to just be in LL Bean flannel all the time. You'll get fined by the state if you don't.
All right. So listen, are we spending any time worrying about the gazillionaires on the submersible?
This is another thing that makes me want to vomit. I mean, I'm hoping they're unconscious. Of
course they're unconscious. I mean, because that's how they would die, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thought that this is like this is like one of my nightmare scenarios. Why I can't imagine anybody wanting to do this, but this is like one of my night terror sort of things.
What?
Just being lost in an ocean with no air.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
That's what you're afraid of?
Yeah, that's why I thought of.
Don't worry, Susan. Nana will come and rescue you.
She hasn't been around since that day.
She will appear like poof.
I don't count on that.
Teleport you. So it turns out there's this thing. I'll quote from the New York Times. The booming high-risk travel industry. This is what rich people with time on their hands and tons of money are now, have set off this booming high-risk travel.
Right, and one of those billionaires took his, about to be billionaire son with him. So there's just, sometimes you can have too much money.
Well, the other guy, the British guy that's on there, also has spent.
Yeah, he went up in the rocket. Yeah.
Went up in the Blue Origin rocket. So they got the money to do it. If a ticket costs $2 million, no problem. They write the check. The ticket to their deaths on the submersible were $250,000, which is small change to them. But they say that you have to sign a waiver and that the word death appears like 5 times in the first page.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Which is why this is like stuff of nightmares, because it's not only not possible, it's probable.
Oh, I don't know that it's probable. I mean, it's the first time we've heard. They've been
those submarines that don't go that deep don't come back all the time.
All right, whatever. Anyway,
and the worst thing is they can't even get to it because our regular submarines don't go down that low. We have to have the Navy come in, which takes time. Yeah, so
no, they're dead. They're dead.
It's like when those airplanes go flying around until they crash. There's something so horrifying about that.
Yes. Yes, the waiting, and hopefully they are unconscious. But I don't know. I want both of your opinions. Part of me, though, because of how filthy rich they are, and I don't feel like other people should be risking their lives, for. Well, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I feel bad even thinking it, but I just you signed it up for it. You're rich. So
you're
my
not.
thought was.
No, right.
Sympathy. I don't feel.
No, I don't have.
Here's who you feel sympathy for in this one. The guy who was piloting the submersible.
Yes. Yes.
There was one guy on that is not rich that was taking the rich guys on this.
But it's the same for. Yes, I'm sorry that we've lost someone that is obviously a major explorer because, he's the guy that does that. But that is also what he signed up for. So it's like different than my airplane example, which is that everybody expected, and it was just doing something common, and this happens. You don't expect it. But to push the edges and then fail, okay, well, that is exactly what you signed up for. You hoped not to fail, but failure was right up there with the major possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's that. So did you hear that this has to be like the most despicable human person ever? Well, that's not true.
Boy, we got a whole list. There's the guy from Penn already, but okay.
No, Trump has so moved the bar. So, it's this guy in Northern California owns a bunch of taquerias. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Okay. The Labor Department has found that he has to pay damages to his employees.
Oh, that's the penny guy.
No. The who? No.
Is that the guy that paid the employee with all those greased pennies, and then he got in even more trouble?
No. Oh, God.
Well, some CEO.
This is a guy who brought a lot of his workers were probably, undocumented. So he brings in a priest, and he says he wants his workers to, be able to confess. So the priest does one-on-one,
and then he blackmailed them.
He was asking them. The priest was asking him questions like, "Have you ever stolen from your?" The owner thought these guys maybe were pilfering.
Oh.
He goes so far as to get a guy to pretend he's a priest, has these poor souls come in and do a confession with him. One of the workers says, this was unlike normal confessions. The priest mostly had work-related questions, which I thought was strange. Can you imagine? So it says that this guy was such a jerk that he would not let them sit down and eat ever. He treated them like dogs. And then he brings in so listen, here's what the Labor Department said. He has to pay $140,000 in back wages and damages. I don't know how many employees he has, but I got a feeling
that
it's a pittance. It's a pittance.
Well, this is the second such story out of California, because the one I'm referring to is a guy that complained that they were being forced to work. They weren't getting paid properly, and and won the case, and then was retaliated against by, it was an auto parts play or an auto repair, by dumping something like $1,000 worth of specifically oiled pennies on the guy's driveway. Which, actually, I mean, was a miss. So the guy took a picture and, brought it to the government, and now the government fined the guy some more and up the other guy's damages. And what I thought was interesting is repeatedly kept saying the CEO's name, just to say this guy is disgusting, and we won't allow treatment of people. And we went, this is the guy that did, this is the guy that, and I thought, wow, of course I can't remember his name, but I thought it was an equally interesting story, that they're really sort of going after these guys. And when these guys act like, because suddenly in this country, they think the law doesn't actually apply to them. And even if they lose, they keep getting to do the behavior that got them in trouble in the first place. This is a recurring theme because of who.
Yep.
So there was this interesting essay, excuse me, in the New York Times today.
You're catching my phlegm. I apologize.
Yeah, thanks. And it's about the fact that humans are wired to think that whatever time they're living in is like the worst, and it used to be better. And that this does not hold up, in an evidentiary kind of way. So here, the guy says that they looked over 500,000 responses from humans at various times. Overwhelmingly, people believe all over this, not the United States, it's people all over the world believe that humans are less kind, less honest, less ethical and moral than they were in the past. That, if you tell people, do you think people are less yada than they were in the past? Overwhelmingly, all over the world, people say, yeah, that's true. That's true. So that people believe in moral decline. And it's just, ever since you can go back and find any pollsters, they said they were able to go back to 1949.
And people always feel this way.
Always feel, in every single country. And they have 59 countries that they've already looked at.
Well, what that shows you is that there's always a faction in every society that garners enough attention and behaves badly enough that one feels it's never occurred this way before. But then again, the last time it was occurring, one was a child and not paying any attention. And so you remember those years as, it was better back then.
That's right. The good old days.
It's the good old days.
Respondents of all, young, old, liberal, conservative, white, black, it doesn't matter. Everybody seems to feel that this somehow golden age of human kindness is gone.
It's like, again, the sort of, going back to the 1940s, like, great. I mean, with your social science data, but all you need to do is look at the Bible, look at Ecclesiastes, read Ecclesiastes, read like this idea of moral decline is written into humanity's existence. Gilgamesh. I mean, like, literally the earliest texts. It's all about this. And you can break this. I love it. You can break this. This is why I love my teaching job, is that I can just show people, oh, you think the early 20th century and like late 19th century was like a kind of prude and proper time? Let me find you the most lurid affairs, murder.
You mean the Victorian era? Yes,
I mean, just like, come on, like, exactly. Like, people have this like idea of like, oh, the 1950s was so wholesome. Oh man, let me just tell you the articles. I mean, like, no, it is. It's like, I think, Susan, your explanation makes no sense to me. Is it's like when you're a kid, you're not paying attention, so you just feel like as an adult, we're so egotistical. We have to sort of think, well, this thing is the worst.
Right. And also, we were raised in homes where, where there was right and wrong. And then you grow up and, not everybody is raised the same way you are. Your view widens. And, I would be happy to sit here and argue, but this time we're right.
Yeah, I know.
Well, here's what the guy who wrote this say. What psychological phenomenon could produce this, consistent illusion of moral decline? And they say the first one would be biased exposure, because people predominantly encounter and pay attention to negative information. Sure. And that's what news tends to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if news is keeping up with the news, is keeping up with, essentially, it mostly is the moral turpitude of humans and nations.
It's essentially warnings. This is what you have to worry about. This is what you have to worry about. And this is what you have to worry about. We aren't going to tell you. I mean, they can't make a news report out of your life is great and nothing is going to change. That's it for today.
Yeah.
Here is the other part of this. Another of the findings is that people tend to exempt their own social circle from this mass, condemnation of
course,
the horrors. Yeah. Everybody, I don't know what it is. Right?
No. That's when you ask people, this is an old one. When you ask people about public education, they always say it's terrible, but my kids' school is just wonderful.
Very good. Yeah. And this is true. And also, people believe that moral decline began only after they arrived on Earth. They see humanity as stably virtuous in the decades before their birth, and this especially suggests that biased memory plays a role in producing this illusion.
There you go. Louis and I are being proved right in our brilliant comments.
76% of Americans believe that addressing the moral breakdown of this country should be one of the government's priorities.
Right. Those are the people. Those are the people that took away my, my daughter's and my granddaughter's reproductive rights. Those are the people that are banning books. Those are the people that they're out there.
Those people think it's people like you.
Oh yeah.
So that goes both ways. This guy ends this with, the good news is that this moral breakdown, is not happening. The bad news is people think it is. And there's nothing you can do. As long as we believe in this illusion, we're susceptible to the promises of aspiring autocrats who claim they, and they only, can return us to a golden age.
Which never existed.
That exists in the only place a golden age has ever existed, which is our imagination.
I'm going to use Louis' line. I'm just going to say to anybody that starts with this stuff, have you read Ecclesiastes? I think that shuts anybody up. It really does. They go, holy shit, I'm out of my league. No.
Yeah. Whoa.
I have not read Ecclesiastes.
No, me either. Shut me up.
You need to, I'm saying, read it. Read it, because you would, anyone who criticizes the Bible would be shocked to realize that, an angry Holden Caulfield-esque teenager's critique of humanity and religion is already in the Bible. It's incredible. Nothing is new under the sun. Nothing is new under the sun. And I think that mantra, which is repeated in Ecclesiastes, is 100% true. And so none of this is different from any other time period. Talking about like fear of autocrats. Well, isn't that what happened with Rome? I mean, you have the Republic going to a strong man. Like that's right. And people like Cicero freaking out about it. So yeah, I mean, this is humanity at its core. It's fascinating, though. It is fascinating.
Yeah, these goddamn Miller kids. I'm telling you.
Well, Louis,
history.
I want to thank you. Thank you for that, because that brings us to a
we were schooled, Louis. We were schooled.
A good.
Hey, I'm a teaching librarian.
Yeah. Our cartographic teaching librarian, and I'm going to do. I didn't want you two to start babbling, so I'm just going to say this at the end because our time is up. But in the New York Times today, there is an article that lauds what you both do.
Interrupting?
Both of you. Yeah, let me just. I'm going to read one paragraph, and then we're gonna say goodbye.
Okay.
Boxing provides one of the most complete workouts available.
Yay!
Yeah, blending full body strength training and cardiovascular endurance with exercises designed to improve balance, coordination, and reflexes. It can strengthen your back, stabilize your shoulder muscles, work parts of your legs you didn't even know you had. It will challenge you mentally and physically while fortifying your body against injury.
Boy, they left out the main thing, your core.
So, Jesus, see. Okay, just wanted to say, okay?
All right, well.
Louis was upstairs before the show, shadow boxing, kickboxing. I don't know what the hell he was doing. The dog had a very concerned look on his face.
Good work, Louis.
And I know. And no, it's of course it's great exercise. Great exercise. I didn't. And
great exercise if you are in your 70s. I do it twice a week.
Low impact. It's totally low impact. It's the best workout I've ever had.
A story was told last night of how you traumatized Louis' new wife when she came to meet the whole family, and she said at one point, "You dropped your pants so that everybody could admire your legs," which apparently you've been toning up.
Well, no, you have to. I have sticks. Oh, I'm sorry, Claire. I don't mean it. Now I do it to show my new underwear, which I really like.
I know. She seems to always taking come on.
No, and the last time you were in Green Bay, I took off my top. I had a sports bra on. I was perfectly modest, and I flexed for you.
Take a picture of my back. Look at it, and I have it right here. I'm just saying.
It's not bad for a 72-year-old woman.
I'll see.
It's not. It's not.
A lot of the gloating. And we're past time, and I'm getting out of here. Hey, guys.
Yeah, I got to go to Green Bay.
I'm knee deep in family, and I'm loving it. But so no more shows this week, and I'll talk at you again on Monday. Okay, Sue, safe travels.
Okay, thank you. Louis, send me an email about when you're coming. Remind me.
Okay.
Yep,
Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.